Okay, so I'm just going to make another quick video about how I sight sing, and in this video I'm going to talk about rhythm and how I count rhythms in bars. So if we're in 4/4, that means there's 4 beats in a bar, or it means there's 4 crotchets in a bar. And if you look at this example here, first I'm going to talk about how I don't think about rhythm. And this is the way that some people think about rhythm. I don't think it's a helpful way, and I'll talk about how I do think about it. So we're in 4/4. A crotchet is equal 1. That's equal to 1 beat, isn't it? It's 1. And then these are quavers. They're halves. This is a quaver as well. That's a half as well. These are semiquavers. They're worth quarters. And these are quavers. They're worth half. This is a crotchet. It's worth 1. This is a dotted crotchet, so it's worth 1.5. These are 2 semiquavers, so they're quarters. And this is a crotchet. That's worth 1. So that's all true. But I don't think that's the best way to think about it, because you can't count thinking 1, half, 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 quarter, quarter, half, half, 1, 1.5, quarter, quarter, 1. You know, it doesn't help you. If you could do that, then you'd be reading it before what you were doing wasn't really helping you to do it. So instead of thinking about all the beats separately, or instead of thinking 1, half, half, instead you think about the beats like this. So these are the beats of the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you divide them in half, you divide them into quavers, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And if you divide them into semiquavers, it's called 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. And so the rhythms match up to these. These are always happening all the time. This is like the pulse that's going on. And when you sing this, you call this 1. But you don't think this is called half. This is called 2 and. That's 1, 2 and. This isn't called half, quarter, quarter. This is called 3 and a. And this isn't called half, half. This is called 4 and. So it's 1, 2 and 3 and a 4 and. And then this would be 1. This would be 2. And then you wouldn't say 3. This would be the and a 4. 1, 2, and a 4. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and a 4, and 1, 2, and a 4. So I think this is a better way to think about rhythm. It's more intuitive. It tells you where they are in the bar. If you do make a mistake, like you sing this rhythm wrong, you still know that 4 is here, so you'll get back into it. You'll be right again straight away. So mistakes don't like throw you off as much. So especially if it's a really fast piece and you think about the rhythms, if you're trying to work out what all the rhythms are and what they all add up together, then it's really hard to think like how many quavers, quarter, 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 that kind of thing. Really impossible. Much easier to think where are the beats and what are the rhythms in the beats. 1, 2 and 3 and a 4 and 1, 2 and a 4. And it works in 3/4 as well. So this example's in 3/4, so it works in any time finisher. So in 3/4, then you've got 3 crotchets in a bar. So you count 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a. So this goes 1, 2, 3 and 1, 3 and a 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah. So this is a minim. This is worth 2 beats. So when it's worth 2 beats, you just hold down. I don't go 1, 2. I just go 1, 3 and a. That makes sense, doesn't it? So that's all I think about rhythm. I think that's quite a helpful way to think, especially when you get more complicated rhythms and more syncopated rhythms. Like, so if I just change this a tiny bit, so I've done a tie here. So I've joined these together. So now there's nothing on 3. So it's 1, 2 and a 4 and. So it's quite helpful for ties. Whereas this would be really, if you were trying to work out 1, half 1, because this is 2 halves joined together. 1, half 1. That doesn't make any sense. I can't even do it. It's so hard. 1, 2 and a 4 and 1. Just think about the beats and divide them using this system. The only time it won't work is if you've got triplets, and then you just have to learn them. Okay.